Welcome to Middle Fingers Up, the show where we hold our heads high and our middle fingers higher. I'm your host, Kieran McKay. Joining us today is Grand Komanda, who is making waves in the comedy scene here in Canada. Hailing originally from Nigeria, he brings a unique blend of cultural insights and humor that resonates with audiences far and wide. Not only is he a talented comedian, but he's also a dedicated father to 2 young boys and an active voice in his community. His comedy not only entertains, but also bridges cultural gaps. And you know how we love talking about those gaps that many of us grew up in. He offers a perspective that reflects both his Nigerian heritage and his experiences living here in Canada. Really funny stuff. I'm looking forward to learning about Grand's story and gaining insights into his community. So let's welcome him. Welcome, Grand Komanda.
Thank you.
The applause. Yay. I have it here somewhere. Hold on. Let's see if I can find which one it is.
Okay, there we go.
There's your applause. I'm sure you're used to a loud one. How are you? Thank you for being here.
I'm good. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks for the invite. It's an honor to meet you finally in person.
Yeah. We've talked. I've been following you. We have a mutual person, Latoya. So, Latoya, shout out to her for
big ups to Latoya L.
For hooking us up.
Exactly.
And you're here. And we're going to learn all about a show you have coming up. And we're going to learn all about you and who you are as a comedian. So you're a funny guy, first of all.
Oh, really? Am I?
You're like, I better be.
Don't mind. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Does your wife find you funny? That's how we know if you're actually funny.
She doesn't find me funny. I don't know if she finds me funny, except maybe sometimes when I get to, tell some personal jokes that have to do with just both of us indoors, and then she gets to laugh. But she gets pretty nervous when she goes with me to a show. She gets really nervous. She's like, okay, I'm just looking at everybody's face in the audience just to be sure that my husband is killing it, and stuff. And then when I get down from stage, she's like, okay, yeah, that was good. That was good. I'm like, okay, why were you scared? She's like, you know how I am, man. I just get so nervous when you go up on stage and I'm right there. So I think she's made a point of duty for herself not to follow me to most of the events. She would rather just have me go and come back and tell her how it went, if it was good, if it was bad. And she's just like, oh, don't worry, you get it better next time, and stuff. But I mean, I'm used to it. I'm used to it. Being a comedian for 18 years now. 18
years. Yeah.
So I have seen the goods, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ups, the downs, seen everything. The ins, the out. But I must say that every comedian has got the time when they'll have a bad day on stage. But the bad days on stage would never measure up to the good days you have on stage. Sometimes you go on stage and you just bomb. It's no fault of yours, as a comedian. It's no fault of yours. I mean, it just wasn't your day.
Yeah.
The very next day, or maybe another 2-3 hours, you're back on stage and you're killing it. And you're like, so what happened back there?
Yeah.
What happened? Was I under a spell or something?
What did happen?
What did happen?
Was your mic not on?
Exactly.
Like, who knows?
But I think I just love being a comedian. Just standing in front of people, getting to share a little bit of myself and be vulnerable to the audience, and that's just what keeps me going.
So you've been here in Calgary for about 5-6 years. So you've been a comedian for 18. So most of your comedic journey has been back home in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So can we start with like the story of how you decided you were going to be a comedian?
I originally didn't see myself being a stand-up comedian professionally.
Yeah.
The faintest idea I have of myself actually doing stand-up comedy comes back from high school. I've always been mischievous. I was pretty mischievous back then. I used to help my friends in school write love letters to their, crushes and stuff.
So you're poetic.
Exactly. So I'll write love letters and hand it over to the guys, and they'll just put your names underneath and put the girl's name up at the top, and stuff like that. And the teacher walks into the class and says, "Who wrote this?" and reads it out in front of the class, and everybody's laughing and all of that. But I'm the only one who has a straight face, because I'm just like, I know I'm the one who wrote it, but it's not my name there. And all my classmates just look at me and they're like, "He's the culprit." And I'm like, "No, I'm not," But I know I used to make fun on the assembly ground, in classroom before the teachers come in. Whilst we have the teachers, there and stuff. I always just used to make them laugh, but I never really knew that I was going to do this professionally. I think where I made up my mind that I was going to do this professionally started around somewhere in 2009, I think 2009 or 2008, thereabout, But before I even go into that, I must say that I come from a very hilarious family. My dad is an extremely hilarious person.
Yeah.
My dad, his sisters, my aunties, and my uncles, they're extremely hilarious. From my dad's side, from my mom's side. Like, you just sit down when we have like this family get-togethers and stuff, and you just be laughing.
Everyone's telling stories.
Different commentaries and comments from this uncle and that auntie, and you're just laughing and all of that. So I think it's always been, in the family, but nobody has actually done it professionally. I'm the first person who's doing it professionally, and I stumbled into it. Back in university, we put together a show, a couple of my friends and I, and there was a popular comedian then in university who used to host like all of the shows. And so I had paid him to come host the show, and dude disappointed us. Ended up not show. He was a no-show. He didn't come that day.
Did he take the money?
He took the money, but he didn't show up.
From the students?
Yeah. And so it was time for the show to start.
Yeah.
We had people sitting in the auditorium, and everybody was like, "Okay, yeah, so let's get the show going." And I'm like, "The MC's not here. The comedian's not here. So what's going to happen?" And my friends were like, "You can do it. You can do it. You go upstage and go do it." And I'm like, "Nah, I don't. I've never done this, And they're like, no, you have to salvage the situation. You need to go on stage." And this guy's pushed me to go on stage. I went on stage and I bombed.
Oh.
It was terrible. Like I made a mess of myself, because they felt like, "Oh yeah, if you could make us laugh in the hostel, if you could make us laugh and stuff, so you could do it, And I went up on stage and it was terrible, but I was thrown a lifesaver, because one of my friends was like, "Just make fun of the school security like you normally do." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that might work." So I just made the one particular joke that I had coined back then about the school security. I threw it in and the audience just laughed. They liked it. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. So if I've been bombing for like the past 15, 20 minutes, I've just got a 2-minute break where everybody has laughed." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And then I just signed out right there and then, and so that was how it pretty much started for me getting into stand-up comedy. Along the line, my dad, I told him I wanted to do it full time, and he's like, "Nah, you can't do that. Nobody in the family is going to do comedy." And I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "I enjoy it. I love it. I just want to keep traveling, meeting people, and making people laugh, share a little bit about myself, because that's what we comedians do." And my dad was like, nah, you can't do that. So I rebelled.
Oh, there's the mischievous coming out right there.
I rebelled. I said, "Nah, I have to pursue my dreams and all that." And he was like, "No, you either become a doctor, you either become a lawyer, an engineer, or something else, but not stand-up comedy.
That's right.
You can't be," what was the word he used? "You can't be the black sheep in the family.
Oh, interesting.
You can't be the odd one out. You can't be the useless one."
Yeah. And
I'm like, "No, it's not being useless. Like, I'm literally going to do something for myself. It's called entertainment." And he's like, "No, you can't do that." So I left. My mom kept calling me, said, "No, you need to come iron things out with your dad. Even if you want to do what you want to do, you need to get his support. You need to get his blessing, and all of that." And I said, "Well, I will come back to that eventually, And I think it was after about a year or two that I was doing stand-up comedy, and I was making some money from doing it and all of that. I then got my own apartment. I was staying on my own and stuff. And my dad saw that, oh, well, this young man wasn't coming back to me for handouts anymore,
Yeah.
And then I went back to see him, and then we sat down and we had a long conversation. And that was where he said, well, okay, if this is what you want to do, you need to understand that you're going to have to be responsible for yourself. You're going to have to be able to build a career out of it. You're going to have to be able to, literally take care of yourself and be independent and be responsible for everything that has to do with you. I mean, I'm married to your mom. I have kids. I've taken care of them. You're going to get married someday. You're going to have kids. Will this be able to sustain you? If this is what you want to use to sustain yourself, then you have to, put a proper plan on ground for yourself. And I say, yeah, sure. I got all of that, planned out and all of that. I had registered my company then, and so I was paying my taxes and all that. And he saw all of that structure. And then it dawned on him like, okay, yeah, this young man actually knows what he's doing, and stuff like that. So that was how I was able to get his blessings. And ever since then, I mean, I've been flying high.
Oh, that's amazing. So you come from a family where there's lots of laughing and humor, but it's always interesting when you want to take to the next step and become a creative. So many of our communities love watching those movies, have their favorite comedians or entertainers. But when someone in their own home, like you said, isn't a doctor, lawyer, or engineer,
exactly,
it's scary for our parents because of stability, right? And
so what makes it scary for them is their generation. There wasn't as much entertainment in, that we have so much entertainment in our own generation. We've got social media, we've got the internet, we've got so much of these things, in existence right now. So what you do in Canada, people can see down in the south of Africa. Whatever you do in Australia, people can see in a split second. Yeah. They didn't have it back in their own time.
Yeah.
So it's strange. It's new to them. They don't really understand it. And so I think that's why I got that kickback from my dad, why he didn't want me to go into it. It's because he pretty much didn't understand it. Yeah. He's wondering like, okay, how's my son say he's going to go into entertainment? It's not, there's no formal, he's not gotten any formal education in that field. And so how's he going to come and start to make that money to earn it? How's he going to start to earn a living with something that's got no formal education, so to say?
Yeah.
And to him, is this legal?
Yeah.
He's making money. Is this legal?
Right.
The, tax guys are not going to come after him.
Yeah.
Or someone's going to come after him and say, oh, he embezzled money or something and all of that. But once they're able to understand how it works, then they're open to it, Yeah. I still have my dad call me sometimes and give me some jokes,
Oh, like you should tell you should try my joke out on stage?
He's like, okay, I have this one, try this one. And I'm like, that's for your generation, not my generation.
He can take credit for you now. He can say, I did that. That's, that mischievous guy up there. That's me. I did that. He's influenced by his aunts and uncles and everyone.
Absolutely.
So tell us about your name. Where does Grand Komanda come from?
Oh, it's a long story. So Grand Komanda is a name I got in 2009. I was in a village back in Nigeria. I was working in a radio station as a duty continuity announcer.
What's that?
That's like an on-air personality, like a radio presenter and stuff.
Okay.
So I was working with the radio station and so there was a particular segment on the radio station that I used to anchor every day. It was a phone-in program where people call in, to send out wishes to their loved ones and stuff, and then, request for a song and all of that. So I'll engage them for a minute or two, just conversation and stuff. And I think I did it for the very first month, and I was being referred to by my legal names, Michael.
Okay.
And by the second month, one of the callers called in and said, I don't think you should call yourself Michael anymore. And I'm like, why do you say that? And he's like, well, because I was at the radio station the other day to see you, and I saw you and you look really young. But when I hear your voice on the radio, you sound so mature, so elderly and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so where you headed? And he's like, you have this commanding tone on the radio. Like once you get on the air and it's your segment, everybody's just glued. My friends and I, we're all just glued and we're just listening to you and all of that. So with the commanding tone that you have, I think I would give you the name, the Grand Komanda. And I'm like, okay. And so when he said that to me on air, the next callers that called in, everybody just kept going with the name Grand Komanda.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, so that's it. Let's stick with that. And so that's how I got the name.
You do have a commanding voice, so I have to say, it is a really good voice. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But the difference is you don't have face for radio. You have face to be on stage, right? You know, they always say you only people that don't have the face have the, you know, should be on the radio, but you're handsome and funny as we know from your last segment. So there you go. And now you have the voice. So that's amazing.
Thank you so
look at that. It's a I love that. I was curious. I learned your name for the first time today right now. So I didn't even know your name was Michael. So there we go. Michael. And I will never call you Michael. I will only call you Grand. That's it.
I've tried a couple of times to go back to my legal names, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I go into a function and I'm like, introduce myself. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Ophelia. They just go like, no, your name is not Michael. Your name is Grand Komanda. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. You know, because I think for a long time, everybody has just gotten to know me as Grand Komanda.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're different when you're on stage as Grand Komanda than you are if somebody were to bump into you at the grocery store?
I am actually different.
Yeah?
I am a shy person.
Oh.
But people don't believe it when I say that I am shy.
Yeah.
If you meet me when I'm not on stage and I'm just by myself, I'm pretty shy because I'm just me. But the moment I get on stage, I have a microphone in front of me. Yeah, that's when I get to let myself out, you know, and stuff. But aside from that, I'm just shy. My wife says I'm a shy person. When she tells her friends that, they go like, nah, he's not. That
can't be him.
He's not. That's not him. And I'm like, that's me, you know, because as a comedian, I do more of observations. So I just sit down and I'm just observing everything that's happening around me. I'm just soaking it in, trying to extract all of the humor, as much humor as possible that I can extract from the things happening around me. And, you know, I'm just in my shell. I'm just extracting, you know, and just, you know, taking everything all in. And people just say like, okay, he's snobbing me or he's being proud or he's being, nah, that's not me. You know, I'm just simple. I just love to be on my own when I'm not on stage, but when I'm on stage or I'm in the midst of my friends.
It's a whole different thing.
It's a whole different thing.
It's so funny that you said that you're quiet because I actually have a question here. I feel often we do hear that comedians are fairly quiet. Some comedians would say they're like loners and that they're just on their own. They don't have a huge entourage and, you know, so they command the stage, but off stage, it's very different. Mm-hmm. And so that's interesting that you would also describe yourself as that. But my question was going to be, would your wife describe you as that? That's how I was curious, you know, because comedians would say they're quiet, they're shy, but would your wife say that off stage?
She will tell you that. Yeah. She will tell you that.
It's different. Yeah.
She will tell you that if he doesn't know you, he's just going to keep quiet.
Yeah.
Until you engage him in a conversation and then you guys can get going and all of that. But he might not. She would say he's not the one that would bring up the strike the conversation.
You're not going to start it.
That'll get the conversation going. But if you do, he'll chip in. And
good thing it was me that called you the other day. Otherwise, I'd still be waiting for you to call me, right?
I would have called you. Trust me.
I know you would have. You're good. So, what can we expect from Grand Komanda on stage? If we're going to your show, which you have a show coming up in a couple of weeks, June 30th.
June 30th. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what could we expect from you?
So June 30th is actually going to be my second special.
Yeah.
I filmed my first special. It was an hour-long performance of mine. I filmed that in October of 2022. It was titled Handsome and Funny.
Yeah.
Because I've always considered myself a handsome guy. So it was handsome and funny. But June 30th is mischievous.
Yeah.
Mischievous because every comedian has a weird way of thinking, a weird way of analyzing the, you know, events that happen around us. As a comedian, you are a social commentator. So we comment, we make jokes, we talk about the things that happen every day, like the current water restrictions in Alberta, in Calgary in particular. I'm working on some materials about that, you know.
You had a very funny meme the other day that I saw.
You saw me by the water fountain,
I saw
right?
you by the massive, it looks like the Vegas one.
Just the morning when they said, oh, yes, you have to, no showers, no watering of plants and stuff. And I'm like, okay, no problem. That's fine. I'm not going to use the tap or the water in my house. I'll just go to the fountain beside me or go to the Bow River and knock myself out, you know, and stuff like that. So every comedian is a social commentator. We tell stories about ourselves. We tell stories about the things that happen to us, that happen in our society. We comment on the things that happen to us every day. And before we're able to comment about those things, we have obviously witnessed those things happen. We've seen them happen, and we've been able to extract the humor from all of those things happening around us. And in doing that, that helps us, you know, that mischievous part of our thinking, of our analyzing, of that mysterious part of our brain is what helps us extract the humor from all of those things, no matter how serious it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just extract the humor from it. And then when we talk about it, people just go like, why is he talking like that? We're just simply just being mischievous, you know?
Right.
Yeah, of course it was a serious situation, but that's it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the other day I was driving on, I think it was an elbow drive. And there was a funeral procession, you know, and all the vehicles were pulling up to the side. And they were like, oh, you got to respect the dead, let them go through and all that. And in my mind, I'm like, he's dead already. Where are they rushing to, man? We're the ones who have somewhere to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, they can take their time and get to where they're going, man.
Right.
We're the ones that have appointments to meet up and all of that. You know, and when I told that joke, someone just goes like, oh, this guy is crazy. Why would you say that? Respected that. I said, yes, I do respect it. That's why he shouldn't be in a hurry anymore. He's got nowhere to be in a hurry, you know, and stuff like that. So that's basically what influenced my titling the show Mischievous. And so it's happening June 30th at the Bella Concert Hall.
Beautiful location.
Yeah, very beautiful. Mm-hmm. Very, very lovely. The Bella Concert Hall. So here's the backstory of my decision to film at the Bella.
Okay, yeah.
I stumbled across the Bella Concert Hall in 2020 when I was searching for a venue to have my very first show in Calgary. And then my attendance was just about 150 guests. So I stumbled on the Bella, and the Bella seats about 500 people. And I said, oh, wow, that's a beautiful venue. I love it. The lights, the stage, the sound. It's just going to give me like a Trevor Noah or Kevin Hart or Dave Chappelle vibe, you know, and stuff, which is where I eventually want to get to, you know. And so I looked at the hall, and then I called them, and they told me the price of the hall. And I'm like, okay, this is not yet time. I'll get back to you guys. Yeah. I didn't call them back because I didn't have the money to pay them back then.
Yeah.
You know, but here we are. I think it's about 3-4 years down the line.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're making it happen at the Bella. And I'm just super excited, you know, to film my second special. I'm 6 years in Calgary. I have so much to talk about, you know. I haven't filmed a special since the one in 2022. So for the past 2 years, I have been on daddy duty.
Yes, you're a new father.
Yeah, I have 6 months. I have a 2-year-old who was born in 2022. And I have a 6-month-old who was born in 2023.
Right.
Yeah, so there's so much to talk about with those
parenthood.
two little rascals that are...
Yeah. I bet you have so many things.
Oh my God.
Because you have COVID in there, you know, you can probably, now that you've settled, I would imagine even coming, you know, immigrating down, there's probably so many things now that stand out to you than maybe when you first got here and did your show. Like you're probably learning the differences and the similarities.
Learning the differences of, you know, being a Nigerian, having lived a major part of my life in Nigeria, almost 30-something years of my life in Nigeria, and coming here and not having to assimilate, learn, you know, unlearn, relearn.
Yes, sir.
You know,
tell me about it.
So many things. It's just been amazing.
Yeah. Do you feel like you assimilated when you came here?
Yeah.
Or did you feel like you came assimilated, that their assimilation was occurring, you know, because of your history back home in Nigeria?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, because with stand-up comedy is a universal language. Yeah. You know, so literally everybody understands what's going on across the world. You know, you're able to see what's happening everywhere. But when you get into a new society, it always has its challenges. Yeah. So you have to settle down, which is what helps me as a comedian. When I get into a new space, I just sit down, I just settle down, and I observe. I just study the atmosphere, learn how things are done there. And then I now start to, you know, unravel myself gradually and gradually, and start to fit into that society. And so that's pretty much what I've been able to accomplish in the past couple of years.
First of all, how is immigrating to Canada talked about back home? Like, are people excited still to want to come to Canada? Or are people like, oh my God, or people go because of safety? Like, how is that conversation discussed?
So a lot of people are excited when they hear about a lot of people are excited at the thought of, immigrating to a new country.
Yeah.
For me, how did I end up in Canada? It was my wife who brought me here.
Okay.
She wanted to gain international work experience. She's a drug dealer. Sorry, she's a pharmacist.
I'm sure she loves that.
She's a legal drug dealer.
Yeah.
So she wanted to get international work experience and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go to the US.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was where I had in my mind when we said, okay, we're going to relocate, leave Nigeria and come to, to North America. And we're like, okay, so where do we go? And I said, okay, let's go to the US. Let's do Houston. It's got pretty much the same weather we have in Nigeria and stuff. And she's like, no, I don't want to do Houston. I want to do somewhere entirely different from where I'm used to. And I'm like, okay, so let's go to Toronto since you want us to do Canada. And she's like, no, I don't want to do Toronto. And I'm like, so where do you want us to go to? And she's like, let's go to Calgary. And I'm like, where's that?
What? Yeah.
That was literally the very first time I heard the word Calgary.
Yeah.
The name Calgary. I'm like, what's this Calgary? And she's like, okay, let's look it up. And then we went online, we started digging, we started looking at pictures, doing some research, Google and stuff. And then I saw Calgary and all of that. Then we didn't have any kids. It was just the two of us.
Right.
So it was a lot easier for us to, to relocate, to move, to immigrate. And so she said, well, let's do Calgary. And then I was like, oh, Calgary, let's do Toronto. And she's like, no, let's do Calgary. And then I remembered one of the words of advice my dad gave me when I was getting married. My dad said, if you want to have a happy life, make sure you have a happy wife. So I said, okay, you make the decision and we'll go to Calgary. And ever since we got here, it's just been amazing. Yeah. Because I think Calgary is more of a family-oriented city. Mm-hmm. It's got a mix of pretty much everything. Yep. If you want, you have the elderly people here, you have the retired folks here, you have the young, you have the family folks here, you have, it's a mix of everything. Yeah. And that's what has made me fall in love with Calgary ever since we got here. So I think we made the right choice coming to Calgary.
I have a love-hate relationship with Calgary, but I will say one of the wonderful things about this city, which probably you see, is the art scene is thriving. A city is doing well when the arts scene is thriving. You have people that are doing street art. You have entertainers. You have lots of musicians, comedians, people that are like starting their bases out here.
Exactly. And
it's a nice group that's sort of out there challenging each other, inviting each other and helping the city grow. And I think that's a great place to land, absolutely, with your career.
Calgary has done a lot for me since we got here in 2019. And like you rightly said, Calgary is tremendously, extremely diverse. Yeah. You have the African community, you have the Asians, you have, the Latin community, you have, it's just diverse. Yeah. And what makes me super, super, super excited and super happy is that you see every single community in Calgary is thriving. Yeah. In whatever form of art. So you have the musicians, you have the DJs, you have the comedians. You have the artists, you have the dancers, you have, recently there was the China festival. I can't remember what the name was that they had sometime. I think it was in April. Yeah. And everybody from every single community was in attendance. A few weeks ago, the Indian Punjabi DJ was in town. Yeah. Sold out the Sadhu Dome. Yeah, it was it was amazing. Which other one was it? There was some of the Nigerian festival sometime in February. And it was ethnic festival, and that's it. It was amazing. So everybody is absolutely thriving. There's a Nigerian saxophonist in town as well, Pepe. So she's doing tremendously great. I'm here as well. I'm doing my own little bit, So there's just this, thriving environment for everybody who's in the art scene to just do their own thing and to excel. And I think it's hinged on community support. So every single community just comes out to support anyone that's their own, and then we now have cross community support as well. So you have people from the Indian community coming out to support other people. You have people from other African communities coming to support the Caribbeans, you know, the Caucasians, you know, everybody's just coming out, the Latin community and stuff like that. So, and that's really, really interesting and exciting. My Nigerian community has been my backbone from day one since 2019. My shows, they literally pack out the venues. Once I say I'm doing something, you've got people calling in and saying, okay, how can we support? We just got our tickets. We're going to be there. I'm bringing 2 friends and bringing 3 friends and bringing 4 friends, you know, and it's just amazing. I really can't say that I would have accomplished all that I have accomplished, you know, within this short space without my community. And so
your village, man.
Big thanks to them. Big thanks to them.
Good to give a shout out. I think that's awesome. I think it's amazing when you do see your own community and other like-minded communities that want to shout out and support each other, because we're all trying to figure out how to thrive. We're all trying to figure out how to better the city that we live in. And it just so happens to be Calgary. There's so many other cities like this out there that you see a lot of people of color coming together and, you know, cross-referencing with each other. And I think that's the way to go. I think that's how we learn. I think that's how we push the envelope.
Absolutely.
I think that's how we fight systemic oppression, when people are out there looking at ways to support communities that are outside of the, you know, the big dollar entertainers that are coming and taking our money. And you're like, well, that's great that you're coming here, but what's your platform? What are you fighting? How are you fighting for us?
Exactly.
And then you have your local folks that are in the everyday hustle with you. And I think that's phenomenal. And we're going to come back to your show again so that you can remind us where we can get the tickets and all of that as well.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, so you've been doing this for 18 years and you talked about good, bad, and ugly. So like, what would you say is the bit that you are the most proud of, that you love, and that maybe we could expect to see coming up in your show too? I love the sigh. What is that? First, let's address that.
The beat that I love the most is the fact that I'm going to be talking about my kids. I'm going to be talking about my journey towards being a father.
Yeah.
We were married for a couple of years before we actually had my first son. The up and downs, you know, that's something that's really not talked about in my community. Fertility, you know, nobody talks about it. Everybody just shies away from it, you know, but I'm going to talk about it. You know, there was so much that happened between my wife and I, you know, the trying process before we were able to have my baby and have our son and all of that. And, you know, so I'll get to talk about that a little at the show. Another plus is the fact that my mom is going to be at the show. So this is pretty much the first time she's going to be at a stand-up comedy show that I am producing. So she's going to be in attendance, and I have a whole set of jokes written about her. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. So it's going to be a big surprise for her that day.
I can't miss this. Like, if I wasn't already going, now I'm definitely hooked. Is she? Does she live out here, or is she visiting?
She's visiting. Visiting.
Has she ever been here?
No, it's her first time in Canada.
And then you're gonna roast her?
Yes, I will. I definitely have to.
I can't wait to see her kick your ass afterwards.
No, she's not gonna do that.
Yeah, right.
She would do that. We're just gonna get home. That I know what's gonna happen after I do that to her on stage. We're gonna get home, and she's gonna call me, and she'll say, "Sit down," and she's gonna go like, "Why did you make fun of me?" And I'm just going to go like, "I was just doing my job." And she's going to be like, "You're doing your job at the detriment of your mother's dignity?" And I'm like, "Excuse me, when you're going back home, am I not going to give you money and stuff?"
So she's going to go like, pay your ticket back.
And she's going to go like, "Okay, if it's for that, no problem. It's fine. Please make sure you use me at the next one." You know,
she's going to say, "You better upgrade me to first class."
I'm pretty sure she's going to do all of that. She's going to say all of that. So that's one of the things that excites me the most about the forthcoming show.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that I haven't done an hour-long performance since 2022 here in Calgary.
Right.
You know, I haven't produced my own show. But here's the good thing about it. I produce my own shows myself.
Okay, that's amazing. Yes. Yeah.
I produce my shows myself. So I have a production team that I work with.
Yeah.
We're 4 of us, 3 other guys and myself. So we're 4. One of them is my director of productions. The other guy is the director of photography. and the other lady is the coordinator.
Okay.
So she coordinates everything, and then I'm just a performer.
Right.
You know,
the talent.
I'm just a talent.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times I come to the team and I'm like, okay, guys, I have this idea in my head. This is what I want to do. How do we go about it? I just tell them everything I have in my head.
Yeah.
I may not have the whole picture 100%, but I just pour it out on the table.
Yeah.
And then everybody just starts to dissect it, you know, and then flesh it up. And you're like, okay, let's do this instead of doing this. Let's do this. So it's a collective effort. And at the end of the day, we're able to make it happen. And it's always a huge success. So I must also say big shout out to the members of my team, Ejiro, Sam, and Chinyere.
Nice. That's amazing. It is good to have a team, especially when you're a creative. Most creatives think abstract and think big picture. And you often need, it's the good people on your team that don't go get noticed, that have to help filter that and bring out the details. So it's nice that you have that. How long does it take on average to, lock a bit?
Lock a bit, that's get a material, right?
Yeah. Like, that you're like, okay, this joke I'll be able to take to my show. How long does it take to get?
So I would say it's a lifelong process, because you can tell the same joke in 1,000 different ways. But to create one joke, it can take you a minute. It can take you 10 minutes. It can take you an hour. It can take you 2. It can take you 3, 4, 5, 6. It can take you a whole year. But once you have a good material, a good joke, you know what you want to talk about, there you have it. And then you can always fine tune it. It's like you keep fine tuning it every now and then. When you go on stage, you can always fine tune it. You can add one new thing or add one. It's never fully cooked or fully done. Your
audience probably has a lot of influence, I would imagine.
Exactly. The way the audience receives it also determines how you get to deliver it,
Right.
Sometimes I have a joke that I've performed somewhere else, but when I'm performing it in front of a new audience, because the audience is different, the way I introduce that material, the way I introduce that joke and tell it is going to be different from how it was delivered at another event or at another show, But every now and then what I do is, once an idea drops in my head, I just put it down on my phone. Yeah. I have my notes on my phone and I just write it down. So something just drops in my head. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. I just put it down on my phone because I don't want to forget. It may be on my phone. Like I have some materials on my phone, some jokes on my phone that I started creating maybe like 2-3 years ago, but I haven't finished it. But I know I just have it there. Yeah. It's locked somewhere there, and someday I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to go like, okay, I need to finish this. And then the missing piece of the puzzle just comes and then boom. Yeah. I just put it there and boom, I'm able to lay it up with all the jokes that I have. And then it's good to go. It's good to fly.
A lot of it's life experience.
So one of the things that I do as a comedian, I do more of observational comedy.
Yeah, okay.
I'm quiet. I go out, I'm driving, I'm on the road, and I'm just looking and seeing things that are happening. And I'm just observing. By the time I get back home, I just put all those things down. I just write them down and all of that. And so when I start to talk about it, people are like, oh my God, where did he see that? How did he know that happened? And all of that. And I'm like,
that's me.
And I'm like, yeah, because that's what I saw happen on the road, Yeah. And a lot of the jokes sometimes, most of the jokes at times are things that have to do with me, my own personal experiences. I get to talk about them. There was a piece I did about the chief of police in Calgary, and how police officers give people tickets and pull them over and stuff like that. And that's because I've been pulled over like 2 or 3 times, and when I did that piece, the chief of police was laughing and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's happened to me. That's why I'm able to talk about it. And and a lot of people were like, oh yeah, that's happened to me as well. I'm like, yeah, so that's from my personal experience. A lot of times, comedian would tell a joke and people just go like, oh man, I love that joke. It's a real life experience. It's just told you. Yeah. So a lot of times when we go on stage or when I go on stage, I'm vulnerable in front of the audience because I get to tell you deep secrets about myself, which is some of the things that I'll be doing on the 30th. Yeah. And people just get to laugh, like I'm trying to remember the comedian who did a special and it was called Laugh at My Pain. I think it was Kevin Hart, Laugh at My Pain. And everybody was like, oh, okay. And everybody's laughing, but he's just telling you his pain, Yeah. So that's the beauty about stand-up comedy. And that's one of the things that I enjoy as well.
It's relatable. And I think that's good that it's authentic and raw. If it's coming from you and you've thought it or you felt it, there's a good chance that there's a few more people sitting in the crowd that are like, did this guy break into my house and listen to the fight I had with my wife? Is he raising my kids? You know, and it's funny because we both do something called storytelling. I share, you know, I have guests come on, they talk about their stories. You get to do storytelling through laughter. You get to relate to people where people feel good when they walk away and they're like, yeah, that's a serious topic we should talk about. But also, can I take a break and just laugh about it? Because I'm living this every single day of my life. And I think sometimes when we can, I mean, they say laughter is the best medicine.
It's the best. It's actually the
best. Is it not? Does it not? You know, when we get the daily dose of all the dopamine, oxytocin, all serotonin, endorphins, all of that, those chemicals release, the impact that has, you know, on our mental health, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so share the best night of comedy for you. Do you have a memory of the best night where you're like, I will be Dave Chappelle, or I will be like Kevin Hart, or fuck them, I'm going to be Grand Komanda.
I don't think there's ever going to be a best night because for every night that I've been on stage and I've had an amazing time, I just want to have another night that would beat that. Yeah. So I can't say this one has definitely been the best night.
You're so humble. Like it's so nice that you're so appreciative of these experiences, and you can tell they're not taken for granted. You really put them in your, you know, your art catalog.
I don't.
Maybe you need them for when you bomb. I don't know. You know, like, oh, hey, I did have those good nights, right? Like you said, sometimes someone laughs and sometimes
sometimes someone laughs, sometimes no one laughs. Every stand-up comedian is definitely going to bomb on stage someday.
It has to happen, right?
It must happen. You cannot be a stand-up comedian and have a 100% amazing career and say, oh, that I never bombed on stage.
Are you grateful for the bombing? Like,
I'm grateful. I'm appreciative of it because when you have something going so good for you, it almost feels like it's perfect. Yeah. But the little imperfections or the little stumbles we have on the way is what helps us stay in check. Yeah. And realize that, you're not superhuman. Right. You're still human. So there's error that's bound to happen. So you can never be 100% perfect. The most expensive vehicles in the world made by the best, you know, vehicle manufacturers will definitely have to break down sometime.
Yeah, right?
By no fault of anyone. I mean, it's just an error. It's just bound to happen. So when that happens, you're not going to say, oh, okay, because this has happened, all the other vehicles we've made or we've ever produced or we've ever manufactured are all bad. No. Right. It just makes you understand that, listen, you're just human. Yeah. You know, so for every time that I've been on stage and I had a not so awesome performance, it just reminds me of the fact that, listen, you're a human being. Tonight wasn't your night. And you'll be surprised that, you know, you have maybe 2 shows lined up in a day. The very first one you go to, you're bummed at it. But the second one, you're on stage and you're killing it. And then you look at yourself and you're like, what happened back there? Yeah. Why didn't I kill it at the first one? And I mean, it just happened. That's just it. That's just life. Right. You know, don't hold yourself and say, okay, because I didn't do well at that one, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to give up. I'm not going to be a comedian anymore because I bombed the first time or the second time and the third time. Nah. Yeah. Just keep pushing, keep persevering. And, you know.
What comedian, if there's more than one, I know you named a couple, but do you have your, like, growing up with that you really looked up to, and maybe even now that the footsteps you aspire to follow in?
So back in Nigeria, the one comedian that I have always, and I'll say it again, always looked up to is Russell Peters.
Oh, no way. I was not expecting you to say Russell Peters. That's funny.
a lot of people would say, oh, it's Dave Chappelle.
I was expecting that.
Kevin Hart. Oh, it's XYZ person. I mean, I respect those guys. Yeah. I love them. I also look up to them. But the one comedian that I look up to and I admire so much is Russell Peters.
How come? Tell us about that.
And that's simply because Russell talks about his personal experiences. Everything Russell says are real life stories, things that have happened to him, his experiences growing up, his experiences being a father, being an adult, being in relationships, his travel experiences, visiting this country, that country, and all of that. That's pretty much what makes up his material. And that's pretty much the way I perform as well. I get to talk about my own experiences, things that have happened to me, things that I encounter on a daily basis, is what I get to talk about. And I'm pretty spontaneous. So whatever vibe I get from the audience, I'm able to pick up on that, and just go with the flow. And Russell pretty much does that excellently well. So I think Russell Peters is just it for me.
Have you met him ever?
I have never met him, but I know I definitely will sometime soon.
He's coming to Calgary, isn't he, again in August? Yeah.
And I'm at the show already.
Yeah, well, we're gonna put you are already there, right? Yeah. Well, we'll put that out, the energy out that you'll get to meet Russell Peters. That's so cool. I'm sure he'd appreciate hearing that as well, that he's had such an influence on you all the way in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. We grew up with him and he normalized a lot of our assimilation. Mm-hmm. He normalized a lot of us Punjabi kids, Asian kids, Black kids, like you said, Latin kids, all these kids growing up on the same block, going to, a different country every night for dinner. You go to the Punjabi girl's house, you go to the Asian guy's house, and and even though it's different accent, it's the same rules. It's the same politics.
Somebody gonna get a whooping.
Yeah, somebody gonna get hurt, right? And you're like, yeah, I know my mom. She says that. It's so interesting because he taught a lot of us about how to normalize growing up in Canada, and also like look around. How lucky are we that we have all these cultures that are on the same block as us? And there's always Ryan, the one white kid that he, I think his name was Ryan, but his one white friend that he would talk about. And we would laugh because we're like, that's what it's like. And our white friends taught us about social services, right? And even my kids now, I joke the same bit with, let me dial the number for you. Like I always say that to them because that's how we grew up. So it's so cool. I really hope you get to meet him in August.
I do hope so.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool that you said that. Okay, let's take a break and do our middle fingers segment. So what do you, sir, want to put your middle fingers up to today?
Middle fingers up to unhealthy competition, because once the competition is unhealthy, it will just start to drain your positive energy. Middle fingers up to bad talk, bad vibes. Middle fingers up to inequality. Middle fingers up to the war in Palestine. Middle fingers up to genocide in different parts of Africa and stuff. Middle finger up to injustice across the globe, because injustice to one is injustice to all. We're all human beings. We all deserve to be treated right. We all deserve to be treated with dignity and with respect.
That's well said. Very well said. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm really grateful that you brought up the genocide too in Palestine, because it doesn't get talked about. We don't bring it up.
Talk about it. Yeah.
People get uncomfortable, which I think is okay. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you just really should look into that. Why are you uncomfortable? That's where it doesn't get okay, is when we don't look into what that's about. I have a similar one I'm going to say today too. Would you want to add anything more to what you said? Because you said a lot of big things.
No, I'm good. I just basically feel that where the world is right now, we have taken away our empathy and our humanity out of the equation, and everybody's just going on and on and on about your ego. A lot of the things happening in different parts of the world, the injustice, the killings, the wars, and all of that is simply just because of people's egos. If you take those egos away, then you now start to see that, listen, this person is exactly just like me. Yes, we might have our differences. Yes, we might have our misunderstandings. Yes, we might not see eye to eye on the same thing, but this person is a human being. This person is entitled to their opinions. This person is entitled to, their own thoughts. And I can't in any way impose my own views, my own thoughts, my own decisions on top of them. No, rather I should be able to see them for what they are. Understand that, listen, this is how this person feels, and they are entitled to feel that way because they are human beings. And if we're able to see that, then we'll be able to live better with each other.
Yeah, I think I think that's very well said. Honestly, especially the part about the loss of empathy. I think sometimes when, let's say I'm telling you a personal experience and I say to you, this bad thing's happening to me. Sometimes and I'm just using you as an example, but if I'm telling you my story, you on the other hand feel like you have to say something back. And often I find people think being empathetic is sharing a similar story. So if I say, oh, I had this fight with my husband today and I just want to tell you, then instead of saying, I'm sorry that happened, how are you doing? What do you need from me?
I want to tell you mine.
You're like,
so that mine, yours is nothing compared to what I went. Nah.
Yeah. My wife and I, and then, you're like, oh, okay. And I agree with you. I honestly, the other day looked up because I feel like, have I forgotten? I'm like, what does empathy mean again? Mm-hmm. I worked in mental health for years and I'm like, I thought I knew what empathy is, but every day when we talk, we're just talking at each other, not listening. The more we listen, the more we're like, oh, I get you're hurting, you're in pain. And I don't know, I appreciate you sharing that because it sometimes for me where it comes in is like if I'm telling my white friends racial experiences that I have. And if I'm having an issue with my mother-in-law, it's not that it's a dynamic between a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. It's about a white mother-in-law and a brown woman having an issue. And sometimes my white friends will say, yeah, me and my mother-in-law have so many problems, or, me and my sister-in-law. And, and sometimes I have to say to them, like, now I sound like a shitty person, but I'm not talking about general communication issues with my mother-in-law. And I'm just using this as an example. I'm talking about the fact that race is the issue between my person. Race is the issue between my boss and I. Race is the issue between this white friend and I. And I think a lot of people are losing sight of empathy. They get uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. And then they have to put their story in there. And when you do look and connect as humans, it's like far more simpler to just
it's far more simpler to resolve all of the issues,
it's pretty rough. Okay, let's talk about, I want to know a little bit more about, you did comedy in Nigeria before you did comedy out here.
Yep.
Okay, so are there differences when you're on stage doing stand-up in Nigeria than when you are doing stand-up here? And even though your audience may be majority Nigerian?
There's a difference to an extent.
Okay.
When you're doing stand-up, like I said earlier, stand-up comedy is about running social commentary. And so if you live in Nigeria and you do stand-up comedy, you literally run social commentary about the things that are happening in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And that's what people in Nigeria can relate with.
Right.
Because that's where they live.
Right.
If you come here to do stand-up comedy, you would also do stand-up comedy and run social commentary with stuff that happened around here in your environment, your community.
Yeah.
It might not form 100% of your materials, but to a large extent it would. And so it's pretty much different. It's like 50-50. I was in Moncton a few weeks ago for a comedy show, and I could relate to them, because I was telling them about my experience, my trip to Moncton, moving around the town and seeing what it looks like and my interactions with different people there, and being in one of the Atlantic cities for the first time, you know. And it was pretty much social commentary about them, and they could relate to that, even though it was still a Nigerian, audience and, a mixed audience. There were, pretty much a lot of Nigerians there and some white folks and stuff, but they could relate to that, and then I could still talk about Canada, talk about my immigration journey and all of that, and they could relate to that. So it's pretty much the same thing, a lot of times you just literally talk about things that are happening, things that you've seen, what's on the news, what's happening, what's trending, because comedians are pretty much just social commentators. We talk about, things that are happening every now and then. Everyone's talking about PDD right now, and stuff and all that. So
do you have an opinion on that?
I don't have an opinion on that. I just think that, man, whatever you do in secret will definitely find its way to the public someday, no matter how rich you are, no matter how you try to hide it, and all of that, so
truth does come out.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
Yeah. I want to know why all my favorite musicians from back in the day are all turning like on me today. You know, I'm so guilty for liking all these musicians, and now all of them have a big target on their back. And I'm like, you know, it was simple when it was just Suge Knight. Now it's like
and now
every one of them.
And now Didi's lawyer needs a lawyer, because every single time Didi's lawyer tries to defend him, another lady comes out and say, he did this. And the lawyers are like, my lord, I think I also need a lawyer to represent me.
Oh man, seriously, honestly, it's sad. It's really bad. I don't know, but you're right. The truth always comes out.
It always comes out. You know, you can't run from it, man.
Yeah.
You know, you can't run from it. And I just think we just need to be better human beings. You know, we just need to be better human beings. I don't think anyone I don't think anybody in their right senses should subject women to that kind of treatment, you know. Yeah. No matter how much you have, no matter your social status, no matter how much money you have, no matter who you are or what you've accomplished in life, you should never treat another human being that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never.
I agree. 100%. You can add like 1,000 nevers behind that, because it's like there's no argument to it, right? Like that's the way that goes. Can we talk a little bit about mental health?
Absolutely.
So it's Men's Mental Health Month here in June. You're a man.
I'm a man.
You have 2 little tiny men in your home.
2 little tiny men in my home that don't let me get a break. From the moment I get home, my little one, the 6-month-old baby, Shike is trying to crawl right now. Yeah. So every now and then when I hold him against my chest, he's using his tiny little legs and he's kicking because he's trying to crawl. He's trying to crawl. And my first son, Nato, is going to the day home right now. So once he comes back, every little word that I say, he's repeating it after me. And I'm like, stop, don't say that. And he goes, stop, don't say that. And I'm like, no, I don't want you. It's like, no, I don't want you to say it. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? What did I get myself into? You know, because he's literally repeating every single statement that I make.
Oh. Does he know that you do stand-up comedy? Like, can he understand that a little bit yet, or?
I don't know if they understand that, but I know I always make them laugh. Because when I make some funny mumbling noises, you know, and babbling noises and stuff, and I tickle them, they just she just start laughing. And my wife gets jealous. Oh, my wife just goes like, but why don't they laugh when I try to make them laugh? And I'm like, it's because I'm your dad. She's
100%.
She's like, no, this can't continue.
I know.
And I'm like, just spend more time, play with them. Because my wife is the one who's just trying to eat your food. You need to get food. You need to eat food. Come, let me change your clothes. Your diaper is full. This and that. And I'm like, whether his diaper is full or not, let's play, buddy. Come on. Yeah. And that's what they just want.
They just want to play. I know. Play, and we're the business women, right? We're the let's follow the structure. Let's follow the
routine.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't thank us for it.
It's 12 noon. You've not had your fruit. You've not had your you've not had your vitamins. You've not changed your diaper. You should be napping right now. And I'm like, nap? Come on, buddy, let's go. Let's jump. Let's play. Let's play. And she's like, no, he should be still like, want to play, you know? Yeah. You know, so I mean...
I know. My kids, the minute I finished breastfeeding, they were like, okay, you're done now. And literally never looked back. All about their papa, all about my husband. I was joking with my son's almost 13 this month. And I was joking with him yesterday. My husband's been away for work. And I was like, oh, you miss papa? He's like, yeah, I really miss him. And I'm like, okay, so like, if it was me that went away, would you miss me too? You know, and he's so smart, right? He knows, he's not stupid. He's like, of course I would miss you too, Mom. And I'm like looking at him like, is he lying? Like, what's going on? I'm like, buddy? Yeah, exactly. Right. But it's like, they just, you know, you guys know how to play. And, you know, our role as a mother, many of us, not to say all of us, but many of us, it's exactly, we gotta, you know, it'll be bedtime. And I'm like, get to bed. And my husband's like, but we're having quality time together. And it's like, could we not have had that like an hour ago? Like it's late. Because then, you know, we can think of tomorrow. Tomorrow they're going to be tired or whatever. But back to the mental health part though. Like, so first of all, like how is mental health? Was it discussed? Was it shown? Like, how was it for you growing up as a boy in Nigeria?
So growing up in Nigeria or Africa in general, I don't think there's that much awareness about mental health. Yeah. You know, especially, you know, back in Africa, everybody just feels since you're a man, you've got to be strong. Yeah. So people don't really talk that much about mental health when it comes to, you know, my community growing up and stuff. Yeah. I know I did see my dad, you know, break down a few times, you know, sometimes with the pressure of, the family responsibilities and all of that. But pretty much nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody just feels, well, because you're a man, you have to be strong.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it, be strong. When you start to talk about it, everybody now starts to feel, okay, maybe you're a weak man or something and all of that. But I think there's so much awareness going on right now. And we've come to understand that, listen, we're all human beings. We're humans. We have emotions. We have feelings. Yes, you want to be a man. Yes, you want to be strong, which is absolutely fine.
Right.
But you're also a human being. You have emotions. So it's fine for you to feel sad. It's fine for you to feel down sometimes. It's fine for you to seek help, speak to a doctor, speak to a psychiatrist, speak to someone, have your friends around you who you can share with, people who can encourage you. Yeah. If you're the religious kind, have people who can pray with you, who can help you draw strength, and all of that. So that's what it was back then. But I'm grateful that right now there's so much awareness about it. And, that way of thinking from how it was during my dad's time is not the way it is right now. Right now I can sit with my wife and I can say, this is how I feel, I'm not feeling up to it, this month or this week or today. And she's going to go like, oh, okay, I understand how it feels. Maybe we should take a break. Do you want us to go somewhere and sit down and talk? Or do you just want to take a walk? Or, do you just need a break? Same thing too with my wife. Sometimes when she says, oh, I'm not really in a good place. I'm like, okay, what, just take the day off or take 2 or 3 days off. And she's like, how are you going to take care of the kids? I'm like, don't worry, they'll be fine. I'm your dad. I'll take care of them. Just make sure everything's fine, and that's how we pull through, So it's Men's Mental Health Month. So if you're a man out there and, you need to take a break, you need to speak to someone, please, please, please do. Don't bottle it inside of yourself. If you need help, seek help. You can't do it on your own. You're not superhuman.
That's right.
You're not superhuman. You're a human being. You've got emotions. When those emotions, speak and they want to, send you signals, respond to those signals, take a break, take a rest. So you get fired up, you get rejuvenated, and then you can continue.
Yeah. I think that's a great message. Do you follow it?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that they're coming to Canada? Like, what are some things that you see out here? I'm curious. I've only been out here, so I only know maybe I'm selfish about it too, right? I've only known our country's way of supporting or not supporting, however we want to look at it. For you and your wife coming out here, is it like in your face constantly? Do you feel like there's lots more resources out here for the community, for your community as well? Or do you feel like it's still difficult to navigate?
I would say it's difficult to navigate. The resources are out there. It's just a personal thing. Do you want to take advantage of the resources that are available? Or do you just want to hold on to how things were being done, in the past? Right. So the resources are out there. The resources are here. I mean, they're available. Yeah. I mean, it's Canada. Yeah. If you need help, you can get help. It's so
there, right?
It's right there. Yeah. The doctors are not going to come to your house and force it down your throat. No, unfortunately. You've got to reach out. You've got to pick up your phone and dial and say, oh, listen, this is what's going on. I need to see someone. I need to speak to someone. Yeah. So the resources are here. Take advantage of it, or do you just want to keep doing it the way you've been doing it from way back and just keep quiet and bottle it all up inside, and then someday, boom, something bad happens.
Yeah. Like the suicide rates are way higher for men. And, that's always a weird number because not everyone reports it as suicide because of the stigma. But those that have, the number is way higher than it is for women. And it's a lot of what you're saying, that bottling up or that toxic masculinity. A lot of boys grow up to become men and are taught along the way. Like you said, you got to be strong. You got to be the provider, suck it up, princess, whatever it is, whatever message men are getting. And then you see all these health issues, heart disease, you see diabetes, you see all these health issues that are attached that have a significant impact on your health, but also on your mental health. And I worry for, I'm a mom of boys. I help raise my brother. I love the men in my life. And I think of my community too. And I think of a lot of our intergenerational trauma is showing how our men have dealt with through the generations with addiction, domestic violence, and then, chasing after this, what is it to be happy? You lose sight of that. And here you and I, we have the next generations. We both had boys, we're raising them. I'm curious, like, what's your hope for, the future for your boys? What kind of world do you hope that they get to grow up in?
A world where they're free to express themselves. They're free to be themselves. A world where they have the right values to imbibe. They have the right values, they have the right resources that are available to them to better themselves, to better the community, where they're able to grow up and be a positive influence in their generation.
Yeah, that'd be great, hey?
That's just what I want for them, and that's what, when I pray with them every day, that's what I always pray over them. And I'm like, you're going to be solution providers in your generation, you'll make the right decisions. When people come to you looking for advice, you would have the right words to say to them.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right advice to give to them. You wouldn't lack anything. You'll be successful. You'll be independent. You'll be resilient. You'll be a good boy.
Yeah. Oh, what about, like, your dad didn't want you to get into comedy? What career would you hate them to get into?
I don't have any career that I wouldn't want them to get into.
Hey, look at that.
And that's why I said, I don't know if I should use the word stereotype, or the way our parents grew up back then, it was rigid, I mean, you have an Asian background. So
yeah.
It's
India.
It's pretty much the same thing. Your parents just wanted you to go to school, get an education, come out, get a job that's 9 to 5, fend for your family, and that's it.
Yeah.
But right
Sacrifice.
right now I've told my wife, I'm like, hey, listen, if my boy come up to me in another 8, 9, or 10 years and tell me, yo, Dad, listen, I want to play soccer. All well and good. Just make sure you're the best at it. If they come back to me and they tell me, oh, they want to do sports, no problem. Just make sure you're the best at it. If they come back to me and they go like, oh, I want to go into furniture making. Oh, that's fine. Just make sure you're the best at it.
Yeah.
So whatever they want to do, you want to play soccer, you want to play basketball, you want to be a musician, you want to be a graphics designer, you want to be an artist, whatever you want to do, just make sure you're the best at it.
Yeah.
And once you're the best at it, you will succeed. Right. I mean, once you're a success, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Some persons have the very best of education nowadays.
Yeah.
But you're not fulfilled.
Yeah.
I'm all about being in a career, being in a career where you're fulfilled.
Yeah.
You derive joy in doing that particular thing.
Yeah.
You wake up every day and you're motivated to continue to do it. You're not doing it because you just want to do it for survival.
Yeah.
You're not doing it because your parents said, this is what you must do. No. What do you want as a person? And then I can only guide you. For a period of time, because if you have a child and you start to insist, oh no, you must go to school, you must do this, yes, the child will tell you, okay, yes, I want to do it for you, but then they're just doing it for the parent. They're not doing it for themselves. They're not doing it because they derive joy or because they derive pleasure in doing it. So they will do that thing for you because you're their parent, and you leave them scarred for life.
Totally. Well, and I think the other part to that too is a lot of us grew up, living someone else's story. And then you meet adults in my age that are like, I don't even know who I am. I've been doing this career, and some of them are doing these careers and they're really good at it too. And they're like, I did this because my parents wanted me to, or at the time I thought, but now I look back, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I want. I don't know what brings me joy. And I was reading this article about back in the day in maybe our parents' generation, there's this whole thing called midlife crisis. And out here in North America, they would say, the men that go buy the muscle man car, that he's going through a midlife crisis, and, he's got a 20-year-old wife and all these sorts of things. And now they're noticing, like, my generation, my age, midlife crisis, we can't afford because of inflation, those expensive cars anymore. It's more about this quality of life. So a lot of people are having a midlife crisis because they don't feel like they are productive in the way that they gave back to society. Mm-hmm. They don't feel like they are a part of society. And so they don't feel fulfilled that way. It's interesting to see that change happening as the world changes. Mm-hmm. It's not just materialistic stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not just point A to point B, grow up, go to school, married, kid, move on. That's one way of living your life. And now we're learning there's all these other options. And so I think what you're saying with your boys is genius, in that if we can just give them this healthy space to figure out who they are, all the rest kind of follows.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have your values instilled in you, and you know, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to be the best at it, as my dad has talked to me. And that can be a whole lot of stuff. So yeah, that's cool. I was going to bring you back to your show.
Absolutely.
So what is the best city to perform in?
In Canada?
Oh, maybe not. Maybe in general. Maybe it's not in Canada.
There's no city that's going to be the best. Every city is good. Every city has got its own dynamics.
Yeah.
But in my career, and so far in all of the cities I've performed, which city has been the best so far? I would say Maryland in the U.S.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Was it the energy of your guests or audience?
I don't know. I can't explain it.
Oh.
But it's been awesome. Yeah. Maryland. I've had a series of wonderful performances in Maryland.
There you go. Look at that.
Followed by Aberdeen.
Oh, where's that?
Scotland.
Oh, wow. Very different places.
I'm telling you. Maryland will be number 1. Aberdeen will be number 2. I would say Moncton.
Yeah.
Moncton will be number 3. Number 4 will be Toronto. Yeah, number 4 will be Toronto. Number 5 would be Dubai.
Oh, look at that.
Is it Dubai? No, it's not Dubai. It's Abu Dhabi.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I mean, but who knows?
Look at all these wonderful places.
Who knows? I might just be to the next city, and that's going to just be...
Hey, it could be June 30th here in Calgary.
No, I'm not saying... Right? I'm not even counting Calgary, because
Calgary's
my home.
Calgary's my home. Nothing compares.
Nothing compares to Calgary. Calgary's my home, you know. But who knows?
Yeah.
Sometime next month or before the end of the year, I might be to a new city, and that new city is just going to dethrone Maryland.
You have a wonderful job. Like, you get to travel, right? Like, what the best education ever. You get to go to all these different parts of the world, make people laugh in those parts of the world, and then learn what doesn't make them laugh in those parts of the world. Like, that's an amazing way to be educated, I think.
Exactly.
You picked a good career, man.
So next country I want to visit Switzerland.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just want to visit Switzerland.
Yeah, there you go. Manifest that out there.
Yeah, it's going to happen pretty soon.
Maybe you and Russell Peters will go on tour together.
That would be a dream come true.
I'm going to put that out there for you.
It's going to be a dream come true.
You never know.
If you know Russell, tell him there's some comedian Grand Komanda that would love to go on tour with him.
That's right, Russell. That's right. And if you know him, tell him to call me too.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Kieran is my manager. She made it happen.
That's right. That's right. Together, we're gonna go. We're gonna go to Switzerland with Russell.
Absolutely.
There you go. All right, so let's drop your plug. Where can people get tickets to Mischievous?
Okay, so Mischievous is my second comedy special. It's on Sunday, June 30th at the Bella Concert Hall. The Bella Concert Hall is at the Mount Royal University here in the city of Calgary. The doors open at 5 p.m. The show kicks off at 6 p.m. I have 3 comedians who will be performing just before I go up on stage. The first comedian that will be performing will be Sarah Stupar. She's local. She's here in Calgary with us. Second comedian will be Davidson. He's coming all the way from Toronto.
Nice. The
third comedian is Alfred Kainga. He's pretty hot in the US right now. He's from Zimbabwe. And he's going to be on stage. He lives in Dallas, but he's going to be in Calgary on the 30th of June. It's his first time in Calgary as well.
We have to welcome him. Make him feel good.
Yeah. So it's going to be his first time in Calgary. He's also performing, and then I'm going on stage. The show will kick off at 6 and we'll be done pretty much around 8:39. We'll be done with the show. Tickets are currently available at the Bella Concert Hall box office or the Mount Royal University box office. You can get tickets there. You can get 20% discount on the tickets if you use the code EARLYBIRD.
Okay.
one word, early bird, all in capital letters.
I'll post all of that with your
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll post it all for you.
Tickets there. Or better still, an easier way to just get tickets, go on my Instagram. Grand Komanda is GrandKomanda_. Once you get on my page, click the link in my bio and it will take you right there.
It's really easy. And I think everyone should definitely take a tour of your page because you're a funny man. You have a lot of funny things. And I think it gives us a little taste of what to expect for the show. So it's a great opportunity to go on. The minute I started following you, I fell in love. I'm like, this is awesome. This is hilarious. I love it. Okay. We're going to be at that show. We're coming too. So you'll wave.
Absolutely.
From the balcony. Maybe we'll sit up at the balcony. We'll see. What about future plans? You have some hopes to travel. What are some future things in the works or anything we can expect after June 30th?
So I was speaking to a friend of mine recently and I said, well, I think I should do a short film.
Oh.
So I'm thinking of doing a short film sometime next year.
Yeah.
Just a very short film, maybe about 20, 25 minutes, a little bit about my story, a little bit about my journey. So that's what I'm thinking of doing for next year.
Will you go back home to Nigeria?
No, we're doing it here in Calgary.
We're doing it
here in Calgary. Sometime next year. So that's one of the things that I want to do. And then
that's cool.
I'm also thinking of putting together a comedy festival. I'm not sure if there's anyone right now in Calgary. I'm just going to do my research. If there's none, then I want to put something together that's actually going to feature a whole bunch of comics in the city from different communities, from, the Punjabi community, the African community. Just put them together and let's see how we can do something.
I love that.
And most likely make it an annual event.
Please. And please keep me in the loop with this. This is a great idea. I'd love to help in any way. I'm not funny, but I can try to find, whatever you're new. Add me to your team. How about that? There you go.
Sounds great.
I'll get in touch with Latoya L and see if she'll let me be added to the team.
Absolutely.
I think that's a brilliant idea. And I love that you're trying to bring so many communities together.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, so what about, first of all, is there anything that you wish I asked you today or that you want to go back and, bring up?
I think we pretty much touched on every single
We did talk about a lot of things.
We touched on everything.
Thanks for letting me pick your brain today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor.
Oh,
it's an honor.
Okay, then my last question to you then, sir, would be for our audience, for everyone listening today, a call to action. What is one thing, if it was only one thing that people are going to take from today's episode, what would you hope that one thing would be?
The one thing I would like you to take away from today's episode is collaborate. Mm-hmm. In the city that we live in, collaborate. You never know the amount of resources that are available or that are at your disposal. You don't know it all. You don't have it all. Even if you think you do, you don't have it all. Collaborate, ask questions, meet someone new, get introduced to someone new that will introduce you to someone new. And let's just continue to collaborate and let's make the city a better place.
Oh, I love that. That's a great call to action to take. Collaborate. That's awesome. I love that. That's well said. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today, spending this time with me, letting me ask you questions and not saying, go find Google. I appreciate you're much kinder than I am. But also I appreciate the fact that you're doing what you're doing. I think it's so much inspiration for the younger generation, for people in our generation, people from different communities to really follow your heart and find the things that bring us joy, that help us find our innocence, taking a break from the tragedies of the world and being able to see it in a different light, maybe through a sense of humor, and maybe that'll help us manage better. And there's so many more things that I could list off about the work that you do. And so thank you for sharing your stories on stage. One more time, Mischievous takes place June 30th. Doors open at 5 at the Bella Concert Hall over at Mount Royal.
Yes.
We will post where you can get tickets if you don't already have them. To everyone else listening, these are door opener conversations. Thank you for being part of these conversations. If you have feedback, if you have questions, you know where to find us. We always appreciate people that reach out and invite themselves, like Lotoya L did with sending information about you to come on, Grand. But also we appreciate when people send us advice and thoughts about the episode. So to tell us what you think about this. Thank you again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
See you on the 30th.
Cheers, guys.